Well, I try to tell my son, always be honest. Don't be afraid to be who you are. And always ask questions. Put your hand up and ask the question, because once you ask that question and get the answer, you're empowered.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Life of Dad Show. Here in the Life of Dad Show, we talk with athletes, actors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, musicians, entertainers who've all made a name for themselves, but the one thing that is most important to them is being a dad. In this episode of the Life of Dad Show Rewind, I'm showcasing an interview I did with Darryl DMC McDaniels, of course, one of the founders of Run DMC. We talk about hip-hop, comic books, fatherhood. A lot of great insight from Darryl. This was episode 123 of the Life of Dad Show, so taking you a bit back on this Flashback Friday. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Art Eddy for the Life of Dad Show, and on the line, I'm happy to have the man himself, Darryl DMC McDaniels. Thanks for taking the time, Darryl. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Art Eddy, and a place to be. It's good to be here.
Nice, man. I gotta say, before we even get into this whole thing, my family and I were at the Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular, and we saw you there, and I gotta say, not only was it cool to see you there, but when you broke out a little bit of Christmas in House, man, I got giddy.
Yeah, I know. Everybody got real happy. It was some people too. They were sitting to me, looking at me all plain faces, and when I started the lyrics, they just exploded with happiness. Oh my God, that's him! It was so funny.
So thank you for starting off my Christmas season right. I appreciate that.
Right. That's a great way to start it.
Oh yeah, man, no doubt. And before we talk a little bit about music and fatherhood, man, I want to talk about your comic book. I love the idea, love the concept. It's called DMC. It's a graphic novel. What inspired you to create this?
Well, before hip-hop came over to life to change my whole life, I was a little kid going to Catholic school, straight-A student. Loved the first day of school, loved everything about reading, writing, and arithmetic. And if I wasn't in school, I was home reading and drawing my comic books. And about a year ago, a friend was like, we was talking about music, and he just asked me, one of my editors-in-chief, Riggs Morales, who actually worked with Eminem all those successful, shady record years. He said, D, I'm not going to fan out right now, but what was it like when you was a little kid? I was like, I was a little school kid and I read comic books, and as soon as I said comic books, the conversation turned from music to comic book for 2 hours. And he was like, yo, man, you should do a comic book. And I was like, nah, that's corny, whatever. And he was like, yo, I understand what you're saying. Hip-hop comic books is corny, it's gimmicky. But he said, don't do it as the rapper DMC. Do it as the little boy Darryl who grew up loving comic books. And he convinced me to do it. And basically, he said, D, your whole existence is a comic book. People always said, Run DMC, you guys were like our superheroes. About 10 years ago, Rolling Stone did an interview where they just asked the question, Run DMC, what makes them so great? And you had, fellow rappers, musicians, producers, journalists, whatever, writers, and, educators just comment on, the Run DMC phenomenon. And Chris Rock said, Run and Jay were cool, but DMC was like our superhero, the way he sounded, the way he looked, everything about him, his delivery. And my joke was, oh my God, I've been discovered because the hip-hop thing was just a cover. When Riggs told me that, he said, yo, D, just take who you are, and instead of, in this universe, you're the king of rock, you met Run, you meet Jay, your power to change the world is hip-hop and rock and roll. But in a comic book, your power will really be superpowers. So I just took everything that was inspired to me from reading Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and the Avengers my whole life, and we put it with who I am as a hip-hop artist and a musician and as the kid Darryl McDaniels, and the whole blueprint of, Superman, Spider-Man, Hulk, we applied to my life, and it's a dream come true.
Nice, man. And people who have not checked out this book, if you're a comic book fan, even if you're not a comic book fan, you should definitely check DMC out. It's an awesome graphic novel. Sometimes when someone gets a pitch or someone gets an idea like, oh yeah, maybe I should do this, they might not know all of the things that come with it. And I know that one of my friends, he's an illustrator, and it takes him, I know the technology's kind of improved certain time methods.
Right.
But like for you, when you came onto this project, did you kind of reach out to other people in the comic book business for advice?
Yes. Well, not only advice, for assistance.
Okay.
Because one of the things I didn't want to do, I didn't want to be another rapper doing something in a different genre and trying to mess it up just because I had a hit record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did, I actually used writers and artists who draw for Marvel and DC, because I wanted to do it like my music, with integrity. You know, I don't want this to be a self-centered project and just to fulfill my ego. I actually wanted this comic book to be a celebration of hip-hop comic books and geekdom. You know what I'm saying? Because when you think about it, geeks rule the world. We make everything possible. What we write, our inventions, media, movies, games, you know what I'm saying? Everything that people thought was geeky, corny, and soft as a kid is the very thing that makes this world possible. So I didn't want it to just be, and over the 30 years, my 30 years in music, people would approach me here in the States and even globally, yo, D, I got this hip-hop comic book, I got this hip-hop comic book, and for 30 years, until last year when we decided to do the book, I always wondered, why does it fail? It fails because you don't label it. You know what I'm saying? You don't make it. In order to have a successful comic book, you don't make a hip-hop comic book, right? As soon as you call it a hip-hop comic book, it's over. It's stale, it's corny, it's gimmicky.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You make a comic book that is really a comic book. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that allowed us to so far be this successful is I'm using people who live, breathe, eat, sleep, and make comic book culture possible, to the point where even to the point where the cover is drawn by Sal Buscema, who, as a kid, his artwork for my whole entire childhood and even my teenage years was defined by his art. So I'm utilizing those people that make the whole genre and culture exist in the first place. And once you do that, no matter what it is, you will always be successful. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, man.
Could have got one artist and said, it's me, draw me, it's all about me, I'm fighting the bad guys, this and that, but it isn't about that. Even in the comic book itself, you know, we deal with social issues that's relevant to people everywhere now. And in the comic book itself, you see punk rock, you see pop, you see rock and roll, you see the Ramones, you see Keith Haring, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everything that is artistically and socially and current forever will be in this comic book. Because like I said, hip-hop didn't just create rappers. It created writers and journalists and doctors and educators and all this other kids that kids look at me crazy when I tell them that. They just think, we thought hip-hop just made rappers.
That's fantastic, and I love your enthusiasm when you're going to different Comic-Cons or doing other things promoting DMC, man. It can definitely tell it's not just a rapper's comic book, man. It's like everything
right.
you guys put in there, and it's great to see that.
Yeah, and you know, I think the reason why I'm so enthusiastic, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I'm 15 again. I'm 15 in my room reading Spider-Man. And, you know, the joke is, you know, back in the days, I used to put my favorite blanket on my neck with a safety pin and pretend it was a superhero. Now, with this comic book, I can really be a superhero. As Charlie Sheen would say, I'm winning right now because I am a superhero. Look, I'm in this book beating up bad guys.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, I do have to say, people my age, I'm 35. I got to say that, you know, even older, captivated by your music. When did you realize that you were kind of paving the way? I know that other people may, you know, kind of start the foundation, but I mean, for you, Run DMC, man, when did you guys kind of understand that you were helping pave the way for rap music in the world of hip hop?
Oh, I think it was, I mean, when Walk This Way hit, that was crazy because, you know, people say, when Steven Tyler takes that mic stand and knocks the hole in the wall, knocks the wall out, that didn't just happen in the video, D. That happened in the world. That really happened. Yeah. I'm like, what? Oh, I can't comprehend that. But I think we kind of knew when everybody got excited for Rockbox getting on MTV.
Yeah.
Remember, Rockbox was the first rap record on MTV. And even at the time, the only other really popular black artist was Michael Jackson.
Yep.
And it wasn't like a hip-hop thing. For MCs and DJs to be on MTV, that was huge. Like our main goal, it wasn't to get radio play and become rich and famous rock stars and celebrities. We just wanted to make Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Cold Crush, Africa Bambaataa, and the Zulu Nation happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, Planet Rock was out, the message was out, and all the, the pioneers like Kool Herc and everybody before us. We just wanted to impress them. And then when Rockbox got on MTV and everybody started talking about hip-hop, as a culture, and, in the early years, it's funny. Even with Walk This Way out, people still thought hip-hop was a fad. Like, Walk This Way is killing. Now, when we first came out, 84, 85, every question was at a press conference or interview, where do you think you'll be in 5 years in this rap a fad? How long is this going to last? Even with Walk This Way and my Adidas killing, people still thought it was a fad. But I think it was when we got on MTV and everybody got really happy and started writing and talking about us, we was like, hey, maybe we have something here.
Nice, man. Yeah, my next question was talking about Walk This Way. I mean, you guys and Aerosmith connected two genres of music that was seamless. I mean, just lyrically, musically, everything was just, and just the idea of the world coming together. Did you guys, maybe not Aerosmith, but did you guys kind of feel any pressure of kind of showing the world what rap music was to people obviously who haven't heard it before?
No, not really. Well, it's kind of like a two-sided question. When we first made Walk This Way the way you heard it, me and Run didn't like it.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, now this is how it went down. Me and Jay was going to sample Walk This Way. To get you back to the beat. We was going to sample Walk This Way, and me and Run was supposed to talk about how good we are. I'm DMC and the place to be. Been rhyming on the mic since 83. I'm the best MC in history, and there will never be an MC better than me. And then Run was going to come on. I'm DJ Run, and I'm number one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rick Rubin walks in the studio and goes, hey, guys, y'all should do the record over. And me and Run thinking from a limited hip-hop point of view, Rick, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to sample it, and we're going to rhyme on it, and that's doing it over. Rick said, no, you should do it over the way the guys, the Aerosmith originally did it. Now, Jay had heard the record past the break. Me and Run had never heard the record past the break. So Rick goes, here, take the record, let it play, take out a pen and paper, and write down the lyrics that y'all hear on the record so y'all can learn them. So me and Run, we let the record play, and when we heard Steven's voice, Backstreet Lover, oh, hell no, this is hillbilly gibberish. Y'all taking this rock rap stuff too far. You're going to ruin our careers. Africa, Bambaataa, and the Zulu Nation are going to hate us. Y'all going to make us the laughing stocks of the music industry. No, we're not. It was a fight for the longest until Jay and Rick was able to convince us to come to the studio and say, don't do the lyrics the way Steven is singing them. And me and Ron were pissed off. We was like, so what do y'all want us to do, right? And Jay said, do the record like Run and D would do it. And it was almost like different strokes with Arnold. What you talking about, Willis? He was like, what you talking about, Jay? He said, do the signature switch off, help each other lyric thing. So we did that. And then he put Steve on the last vocal, and that's the version you'll hear today. And to the point where when we heard the finished product, we was like, yo, it's cool. It's funky. The vocals, the delivery, Joe's Perry guitar replayed is tight. Steven's vocals is tight. Me and Ron go, after the version you hear today, me and Ron go, y'all better not put this record out as a single. Here we are 30 years later. Me and Ron sit back, and the moral to that story is this. I always tell little kids, always be open to try something new, because not only will it change your life, it could change the world. But me and Ron had no idea.
Oh, man, I love that story. Thank you for giving that insight to me.
And that's a true story, man. Me and Ron, even to the point when what you hear today, me and Ron said, y'all better not put this record out as a single. But they did, and it changed the world.
Speaking of kind of changing the world, from your time when you started to now, what's your take on the evolution of rap?
Well, the evolution of the rap is that the evolution stopped somewhere.
Thank you.
Maybe it was 20 years ago, and I think the only reason, I can never critique another person's creativity.
Yeah.
But hip-hop used to be evolved. It used to grow. To the point, The Message came out, Planet Rock came out, and Rockbox came out.
Yeah.
The Message don't sound like Planet Rock and Rockbox. Rockbox don't sound like The Message, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then LL came, and then P.E. came, then the Beasties came, and then De La came, and then Tribe came. There was always something, there was always a variable, if that's the right word, different innovation, creativity, spiking, sound, music, or idea or concept. Now, for the last 20 years, they all sound alike. They all look alike. It's the same car, the same video girl, the same sound, and the same subject. Somewhere along the way, the evolution stopped because people are afraid to evolve. And I think the other stagnant wrench in the machine is that innovation and creativity has been scarce because nobody is responsible.
Nice.
And what I mean by that is Kumo D said over 31 years ago, if I've been out in 31 years, maybe 32 years ago, Kumo D said to us rappers, it's all right to have fun, lots of pleasures and joys, but it's the brain that separates the men from the boys. He said that when he was 19 years old.
Yeah.
He was a young man.
Yeah.
He was probably 3 years younger than him. And that whole responsible thing of, the thing that made hip-hop so powerful is that the drug dealer would tell his story, and then he would tell the young people who were looking up and idolizing him, but y'all don't do that.
Yeah.
That's what the power was. And that's what I mean with the responsibility. What makes Tupac great? Not that he had Thug Life tattooed on his chest. The point that he made a record called Brenda Had a Baby and Dear Mama is what makes Tupac legendary to hip-hop to us.
Yeah.
Not the fact that he was a celebrity, not the fact that he was getting money, the fact that he came from a place and wasn't afraid to talk about the issues relevant to us. And that's why there's no evolution in hip-hop. When you look at hip-hop right now, the problem is this. The 16-year-old kid looks at the young man that's 21 years old, and the 21-year-old man acts like the 16-year-old, talks like the 16-year-old, dresses like the 16-year-old, and even chases the 16-year-old's women.
Yeah.
And the 16-year-old guy looks at the 21-year-old and goes, I don't got to listen to this fool. And the 16-year-old kid is right, because the 21-year-old guy is a fool. And it even goes further. The 21-year-old guy looks at all the dudes 30 and 35 and sees the same thing.
Yeah.
See, the thing that made our old school great was we listened to our elders. We come from a generation where you listen to your elders because they're giving what they're saying is true because they have experience. So we would take what they was teaching us, apply it to our lives, and then we would put it on a record. So if I'm getting elder statesman knowledge and information, and I'm 19, 21 putting it on a record, and a 9-year-old kid hears me, by the time that 9-year-old kid is 18 years old, he's highly evolved. Or if I'm spitting this at 25 and the 18-year-old kid hears me, when he's 21, he's highly evolved. There's no evolution in hip-hop right now because all the MCs who should be responsible in the position they're in are punks. And yes, all of them who are not responsible, that's who I call a punk. Those are the sucker MCs the punks and the suckers run was talking about on Sucker MC. You know what I'm saying? You can live your lifestyle of the rich and famous, but this hip-hop thing was created with a purpose, a bottom line intent that shouldn't be forgotten. So in order to get your ideas across in any genre, you got to be creative. Like even in rock and roll, I got to think of a guitar riff that the other dude didn't play yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I could talk about politics, social, or love, whatever it is. And that was the thing that was missing right now. When Run DMC was running around claiming we were the kings of everything, LL Cool J came and started making love records. We thought we was over. While we running, I'm the king, we yelling and screaming with loud guitars. LL did the most gangster thing ever. He steps to the mic in the midst of Karis One's the teacher, Public Enemy fighting the power. LL steps to the mic and goes, when I'm alone in my room staring at every MC grabbed their head and said, oh, my God, I'm over. I'm done. But it didn't make us get jealous. We went home and figured out something else. So when we came back, LL heard us. It made him go back home and write. So we was always evolving. Now, to answer your question wholly, it's like this. There was a time period that's not the old school, because the old school wasn't a time period. It was a consciousness. But it was a place and a time where, oh, wow, everybody's making green, so I'm going to make purple. And when I made purple, it changed something, and it made the guy say, I don't need to be green. I could be red. So now you got purple, red, and green. Now you got 50 people trying to be purple. Out of the 50 people trying to be purple, there's going to be one guy that's purple better than all of us, and then the other 49 going to get mad at him for being so good, and now we want to beat him up and shoot him when we see him in the club.
Yeah.
No. If he's good at being purple, go find out what your color is and come back and be pink if you want to.
Nice. Oh, I love this, man.
There's no evolution because nobody's being innovative. It's not even about innovation and creativity. Nobody's courageous anymore.
Oh, I love it, man. I appreciate it.
We were courageous to rap over rock records.
Uh-huh. I thought it was just me because I'm listening to rap. I'm 35. I'm like, what happened?
No.
So, like, it's not just
me. I talk to so many people over 40. It's not because you're old. This is a true statement that should go in every scientific book. It's because you're young at heart. You have a spirit that is good, that is fun, that never leaves just because you're 60 years old.
Yeah.
You're listening to this record, and it can't live up to your mental capability. My argument to kids is this. You're looking at me now because I'm 50 years old. I'm a pioneering legend that changed the world. I did all of this when I was 18. That shuts them up in a minute. Because people look at Run DMC, Public Enemy, Grandmaster, Melly Mel.
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 is the first, not Run DMC. We only got so much notoriety because we were so commercial. There's people that don't know Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 with the Message is the first rap group to be inducted into the Rock and Roll. That's way, way bigger than anything I ever did.
Yeah.
They were the first.
Yep.
But nobody knows that. But now they look at me at 50. So Mel and them is probably 5 years older than me or something like that. But you got to understand, Melly Mel wrote the Message when he was the same age as the guys that you think are good now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Melly Mel wasn't writing you smack the girl and sip your syrup. This man, when he was young and stepped to the mic, he didn't talk about how much money he had, how many people he shot. He told you it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. You know what I'm saying? It touched educators, and it touched journalists, and it went to it went historically into the Smithsonian. Like, he was a young dude. Look, I grew up in middle-class suburban Queens. I went to Catholic. Every school I went to, my mother and father paid for me. Mel and Bam and them lived in the Bronx, but they talked about things that were so life-inspiring.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the way, the evolution stopped.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think of kind of like Tupac on his album, Me Against the World. One of my favorite songs of his all time is Old School.
Uh-huh.
And it just gives a shout out to you guys, gives a shout out to everybody, and talks about what each group kind of influenced him and where he was when he heard it the first
right,
time.
where he got it from, right. That's so powerful. And this is Tupac, who is like legendary to hip-hop.
Yeah.
The question is always, to me, DMC, who's the greatest of all time? Tupac or Biggie? I always go Chuck D. And that just sets the whole argument up.
Yeah.
Voice, delivery, concepts, records, changing the world, shut them down, you got it. But when you look at Tupac, that's what made him great. When you look at what he went through in life, the way that he passed away, but while he was alive, those beautiful records, people would look at him and say, this is coming out of you, young man?
Yeah.
That's the power.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. And
missing
he was doing other stuff besides rap. Like, he was in theater school. He was learning the arts. So
he was a poet. He was an actor. He knew his story. He was educated. He read.
Uh-huh.
That's the funny thing. He read. Kids nowadays, what's that? It's what you got to do if you go buy my Palmer book and not just look at the pictures. That's real funny.
Nice, man.
That's where the evolution stopped. And I think the evolution stopped because hip-hop, the business of hip-hop, stopped putting positivity as a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Well said, man. I mean, just hearing your thoughts and just kind of hearing them from you. And like I said, an icon in the game, man. It's great. Last question before we get into fatherhood.
Yeah.
When I was at the Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular, I saw, you do a lot of stuff in New York City, the community, from helping kids to find foster families and all that, to a lot of other great programs in the city. For some people who might not know, tell us some kind of the certain work that you do in the community.
Well, when I was 35 years old, I found out that I was adopted. Then I found out that I was a foster kid. Then I looked at my life, even though that's unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? Wow, my birth mother had to give me up. I went through the whole system, whatever.
Yeah.
The two powerful things about that was, in 1986, when I'm on top of the world, there's nothing bigger than Run DMC. Even Michael Jackson telling me and Run and Jay we're great, and we're looking at us like we scratching our heads. Why is Michael Jackson bowing in front of us? But my therapist always told me in 1986 I didn't rhyme about having more Adidas than y'all, having a lot of money in the bank, being the number one MC like a lot of rappers brag about, that type of stuff. I said something that was so powerful that was kind of setting me up for what I would be doing today. When I did the freestyle, son of Byford, brother of Al, Ben is my mother and runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree, my mother, my father, my brother, and me. I didn't rhyme about my money, my riches, my fortune, and fame. I rhymed about something that is so, so key and valuable to every little boy and girl on the earth, regardless of who they are. Parents or some people to guide them through life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And when I think about how I was able to be successful at who I am and what I'm doing, regardless of my situation, I'm thinking about, if it's foster care, if it's adoption, if it's being a big brother, if it's being a big sister, even if it's just being a mentor, even if it's just, taking a kid in your neighborhood that got it bad, walking up to him and saying, yo, I'm going to take you to the store to get some ice cream. Let me talk to you. I'm rooting for you. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to talk to, if you can guide a kid, educate a kid, and just show a kid that you care, there's no telling what that kid will grow up to do. And when I look at the way a lot of the laws in the legal system can prevent a kid from achieving a dream, sometimes we got to push the psychology books to the side, push all the law books to the side, and just get involved in a kid's life. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? And do one simple thing to take that first step for the kid. So when I found out that I was a foster kid, I looked at all the kids in the foster care agencies, all the kids in the group homes, and even, it's crazy, globally, I get kids from Asia and from Africa who are orphans because they're technically in the same boat as a foster kid or somebody waiting to get adopted. Those kids in Africa, those kids in India, those kids in Pakistan, those kids in China, those kids in Korea, whatever, who are so-called orphans, all they need is one or two people in their lives to help them get where they're supposed to go. And when I think about, even though I was a Catholic school kid, I lived in a house, had a backyard, I thought about all the information, Mo D and Melly Mel and Africa Bambaataa, all those ideas they were giving me on records. It was my responsibility that when I got on a record, I wouldn't be afraid to rap about, here I am, the greatest hip-hop guy in the world. But I'm telling kids, I go to St. John's University. Since kindergarten, I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I went straight to college. It was my obligation and also my duty to tell kids other alternatives to be successful. You don't have to be a drug dealer to make a lot of money. You don't have to be a basketball player to make a lot of money. You don't have to be in showbiz to make a lot of money. You don't have to do negative things, rob banks and be a stick-up kid to make a lot of money. Get a high school diploma, get a college degree, learn to be a cooker, learn to be a baker, learn to cut lawns, go into landscaping. We have to give the kids the information necessary for them to get where they're supposed to go. And that is all in line with why we created hip-hop in the first place. In the early 70s when there was gangbanging, poverty, heroin, crime, prostitution. In the midst of all that dark and despair, hip-hop said if you can do some poetry, you better do that poetry. It could help you. If you like music, you better play your music. It could help you. We put the poetry to the music and created a whole new musical genre.
Yeah.
The breakdancers wasn't afraid. What could you do? Man, I can't read and write. But when I hear the music, I spin on my head. Well, get out there, young man or girl, and dance. that graffiti that you're writing on the wall, it's wrong for you to be writing on the wall, but that's art right there. That can get you to be a graphic designer or illustrator, or you to be a designer with all these clothing companies. So what I'm trying to say is we got to give the kids the opportunity to use what is inside of them so they could be productive and successful people, and that all is in line with what hip-hop taught me.
Nice, man. Perfect. And it kind of piggybacks now that we're talking to fatherhood, your son, as he gets older and all that, what are some of the morals you look to instill into him as he grows up?
Well, I try to tell my son, always be honest. Don't be afraid to be who you are, and always ask questions. Don't not put your hand up and ask the question, because even if people tease you, you're a dummy. You don't know nothing. Once you ask that question and get the answer, you're empowered.
Yeah.
So I try to treat my son the way my father treat me. Whatever it is that he like to do, I ain't going to tell him, I don't think you should be drawing. I think you should get out there and play football. If he don't want to play football, he ain't got to play football.
Yeah.
If he's not going to be a scientist, you don't got to be a scientist. I think it's all in line with this. Be true to yourself. Whatever you're looking for, that thing is looking for you. But you got to be prepared and ready when it shows up.
Oh, love that, man. Love that line. Nice. And for me, I have 2 daughters, 6 and 4, and sometimes
oh, wow.
There's certain traits that they definitely get for me, like button pusher, trying to be a jokester. For you, what are some of the traits you see in your son? You're like, yep, that he got that from me.
Right. He's very inquisitive. He's very scientific. But my wife always says that he will debate you. Oh, my goodness. He will and I think he gets that from her. He will debate you and make you see the thing that's there that you're not seeing.
Nice.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
I don't want him just to do something without questioning, is this really the only way to do it, or is this really the way to do it?
Yeah. Thinking outside the box. That's fantastic.
Yeah. My son is with technology is to what I was with books.
Nice.
Because back in he got the internet. He got video games. Back in the day, we had notebooks and encyclopedias.
Yep.
So he uses that stuff the way, what he finds out in 5 minutes, it took me about a week to find out going through the encyclopedias. But he's like that, with his stuff.
Wait, Dad, you had to go to a library and do a works cited page? There was no Google?
Yeah, right? How crazy is that? You just have to stop the car, get out, put money in the phone.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, man, I love it. Last question before we get to the Life of Dad Quick 5. And I think you've kind of sprinkled it already. But what advice do you have for new dads out there?
Oh, always be hands-on with everything.
Nice. Well said.
Be involved in school. Be involved, don't not be involved with him and his friends. Get to know his friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, huge.
Like his friends speak to me and his wife. They respect us. How you doing, Mr. McDaniels? Like if they come in the house, they don't just follow him in the room. He'll go in the room because he don't care about us, but they'll stop and talk to us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Be involved. Be involved. I would say be involved with their life, but don't try to control any of the aspects in it.
Awesome.
And then they will respect you, and they won't be afraid to come to you and tell you stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well said, man. Appreciate you giving us some information on some fatherhood tips. Now we go with the Life of Dad Quick 5, just a quick set of 5 questions. For you, do you have a favorite family movie you guys like to watch together?
Yes, horror movie, zombie movie.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Yep.
Nice, man.
Shaun of the Dead. It's the top of the list right there.
Other than your music, do you guys have a favorite record or a favorite song you guys like to sing and dance to?
Let me see, favorite song. Probably Nirvana song.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't even think he was born. He was born 93, so he was like, he knew for when he set my computer up, the surprise for me was he made Nirvana my screensaver because he knew from a young age that I was feeding on Nirvana music.
Nice, man. Love it.
So it's that, and that's a good era, too.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good era, you know what I'm saying? The rebel punk rock hip-hop feeling with rock.
Oh, yeah.
So he understands the vibe. That record shows that even though we're from different generations, we're still on the same vibe. So the Nirvana music.
Nice. Describe the perfect family vacation.
The best vacation we had was 2 times we took him to Disney World.
Nice. Yeah. Place is magical.
Even to now, he think I'm joking. I always joke with my wife, but I want him and my wife. He's 20 years old. I want us to go to Disney World again.
Why not, man? There's something for everybody. I love it.
We went when he was 2. The funny joke is we went when he was 2. He didn't have no idea what's going on. He didn't remember that. And then we took him when he was 5.
Nice.
So that was kind of better because, he was more attentive to what was going on. When it was more of a vacation for me when he was 2 because he ain't have no idea where he was at.
Nice. Love the honesty right there. I probably know the answer to this because you kind of rap about him before, but I'm a sneakerhead, so I have to ask you, favorite pair of kicks are?
Adidas.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And the reason why, it might have been Pumas, but Pumas fall apart. Adidas, if you take care of them and clean them, they can last forever.
Yeah. And lastly, if you could pick anybody in the music world, who would you love to work with on your next record or next single?
Paul McCartney.
Nice. I love it, man. That's fantastic.
I've been saying that in every interview, too, because it would be amazing if the real Beatle of rock and roll hooked up with one of the Beatles of hip-hop. It would be groundbreaking.
I love that.
So, Paul, if you're listening, I say this at the end of every interview, Paul, I'm coming to see you.
Nice, man. I'd love to hear a record by you too. Darryl, thank you so much for taking the time. Continued success with everything you're doing with the communities, and then also, of course, your comic book and just music. And it's been such an honor to talk to you. I love your music, and it's really cool to get your take on fatherhood.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here, man. You keep up the good work, too. This was fun. This was an amazing interview.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad Show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.